This widow walked into court carrying a folder full of bills. But she wasn't there to beg. She was there because the person she trusted most after her husband died had quietly drained her life apart, one excuse at a time. And when Judge Judy opened that folder, she noticed something so small. The entire courtroom went silent. Her name was Margaret Ellis, 68 years old, soft voice, gray coat, hands shaking just enough for the camera to catch it. She stood at the plaintiff's podium with a thick blue folder pressed against her chest like it was the only thing holding her together. Across from her stood her late husband's nephew, Darren. Clean suit, expensive watch, calm expression. He looked like a man who had rehearsed being innocent in the mirror. Judge Judy looked down at the papers. "Mrs. Ellis, you're suing your nephew for $4,200. You say he borrowed money after your husband passed away and never paid it back." Margaret nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. He said he needed help with rent, car repairs, and medical bills. I believed him because he was family." Darren let out a quiet breath, almost a laugh. And right there, you could feel the room shift. That little sound was not fear, it was confidence. The kind of confidence people have when they think an older woman's emotions will make her look weak. Judge Judy looked at him over her glasses. "Something funny?" Darren straightened. "No, Mom. I just think this is being blown out of proportion." Margaret's fingers tightened around the folder. Judge Judy turned back to her. Margaret took a breath. "After my husband, Robert, died, Darren started coming around. He brought groceries, fixed a loose cabinet, checked on me. I was grateful." Her voice cracked on the word grateful. "He told me Robert would wanted him to look after me." Darren looked down then, but not in shame. Watch closely when people do that. Sometimes they're not feeling guilt. Sometimes they're hiding irritation because the truth is getting too close. Margaret continued. Then he started asking for money. First $300, then $600, then $1,000. He always promised he'd pay me back after payday. Judge Judy held out her hand. "Bills." Margaret opened the folder. Inside were handwritten notes. Bank slips, copies of checks, text messages, and receipts, not messy, not confused. Organized by date. That's when Judge Judy's face changed. Because this was not a woman making emotional accusations. This was a woman who had kept records while being slowly manipulated. Darren smiled. "Your Honor, she gave me gifts. She was lonely. I visited her because I cared." Judge Judy snapped her eyes toward him. "Don't dress this up." The courtroom went quiet. Margaret pulled out one message. Darren had written, "Aunt Maggie, I hate asking, but I'm about to lose my apartment. Uncle Robert would understand." Judge Judy read it silently, then looked at Darren. "Did you write this?" "Yes, but..." "No, but. Did she give you money after this?" Darren hesitated. "Yes, and did you pay it back? I helped her around the house." That was the first real crack. Notice the switch. When he needed money, it was a loan. When it was time to repay it, suddenly it became payment for kindness. Judge Judy leaned forward. "You don't get to rewrite the deal after you spend the money." Darren's jaw tightened. "She never said it was a loan." Margaret whispered. "Yes, I did." Darren turned toward her. "Aunt Maggie, come on. You know I was there for you when nobody else was." That sentence hit her like a slap. This is emotional pressure. He wasn't answering the judge. He was trying to pull Margaret back into the guilt trap he had used for months. Judge Judy saw it immediately. "Don't look at her," she said sharply. "Look at me." Darren blinked. Judge Judy tapped the papers. "You used her grief." Darren's calm smile returned. "Respectfully, Judge, that's not fair. I loved my uncle." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "Then why did you sell his watch?" And then, silence. For the first time, Darren stopped moving. Judge Judy slowly looked up. "What watch?" Margaret reached into the folder again, but this time her hands were trembling harder. "My husband's gold watch. Darren said he wanted to take it to be cleaned. It disappeared. Later, I found a pawn receipt in his car when he dropped off groceries." Darren shook his head. "That's not true." Margaret handed the receipt to the bailiff. Judge Judy read it. The courtroom felt frozen. The receipt showed a pawn shop payment for a men's gold watch. The date was 2 days after Darren had asked Margaret for $900 to fix his car. Judge Judy's voice dropped. "Mr. Hayes, did you pawn Robert Ellis's watch?" Darren swallowed. "It was given to me," Margaret gasped. "No, it wasn't." Darren pointed at her. "You don't remember things clearly. You were grieving, and that was the moment the mask fully came off." That line was cruel. Not loud, not dramatic, cruel. He used her grief as a weapon, hoping the court would question her memory. Judge Judy sat back, eyes cold. "You just made a very big mistake." Darren froze. Judge Judy lifted another paper from the folder. "Because Mrs. Ellis has a text from you saying, 'I'll bring Uncle Robert's watch back Friday after it's cleaned.'" Darren's face went pale. The audience reacted softly, a wave of whispers moving across the room. Margaret covered her mouth. Judge Judy held up the page. "So it wasn't given to you. You took it under false pretenses. You pawned it, and then you stood here and tried to make this woman sound confused." Darren tried to speak, but nothing came out. That is what confidence collapse looks like. The shoulders drop. The eyes start searching. The mouth opens before the brain has a lie ready. Judge Judy continued. "You didn't just borrow money. You studied her loneliness. You found the softest place in her life, and you pressed on it until cash came out." Darren finally snapped. "I was struggling too." Judge Judy fired back instantly. "Then struggle honestly." The courtroom went still. Margaret began crying quietly, but not the helpless kind of crying. This was release. For months, she had been made to feel foolish for trusting someone. Now the truth was finally being said out loud. Judge Judy looked at the bills, the checks, the texts, the pawn receipt, then back at Darren. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,200, plus the value of the watch. Darren stared down at the podium, but Judge Judy wasn't done. "And let me explain something to you. Widows are not opportunities. Grief is not an open wallet, and family is not a license to steal." Margaret closed her eyes. That sentence landed across the room like a verdict bigger than money. Darren walked out without looking at her. No apology, no hug, no final word. Just the silence of a man who had been exposed. Margaret stayed for a moment, gathering her folder slowly. The same folder that had looked heavy when she walked in now looked different, not like a burden, like proof. And in the end, Judge Judy saw everything because Margaret had done one brave thing. She trusted the truth more than the person who tried to shame her into silence. Justice didn't bring Robert back. It didn't erase the betrayal, but it gave Margaret something Darren had tried to steal along with the money. Her dignity.